of the platforms. All right, guys. Hey, I'm Buddy Blake, and we got a bunch of guys on here, and we're going to talk about who they are. First, I'm going to introduce three of them that are with Sierra Interactive. This is the Sierra Interactive team. You've got Ben and Brandon, who are owners, and Robert, who really does all the hard work. And then the other is we've got Michael Hellickson, who I had the pleasure of seeing again after many, many years of kind of being on the outside at an event last week in San Antonio. And so it's the first real good in-person thing I've been to. And it was just good information. And I thought maybe we'd talk around it. And I'm going to throw this to Robert, because Robert is the, what's your position with Sierra, Robert?
Product manager. And Buddy, just to kind of take a step back for, people who have joined us, every Thursday for the most part for the last year and a half. This is a little bit different, right? We're making a transition here, a pivot, really an expansion, an evolution of the way that we do these webinars, where we are going to be introducing some to our clients and hopefully just out there, providing a lot of value around conversing with thought leaders and other partners, people in the industry who can really provide value. We want to do that, right, Buddy? That's what we're trying to do every week. And we're excited to do it a little bit different. It's not just you and me this week. We've got more with us, as you mentioned, Brandon, Ben, and really excited to get to know Michael Hellickson of Clubwealth. So I just want to start with, there was a conference last week, and I know, Buddy, that you came back from that. Brandon, you were both there in person, really excited about some of the things that you were hearing and different things that were happening, not only from the stage, but in breakout sessions and even outside of those, the informal conversations where a lot of times a lot of the real value and things occur. So I just wanted to throw it to you guys, Brandon and Buddy, to start. What was it that you came away from last week's conference so enthused about, excited about? What was different? What was validating? Just for me, for the others who weren't there, what kinds of stuff got you excited?
Buddy, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about you. We talked a lot kind of after and having dinner and hanging out. One of the things that I thought was really exciting about the event is just the enthusiasm in the room. And it's the competitive and helping spirit behind the different coaches and the levels, and the way, Michael, that you've kind of created the environment there for people to come in tier one and say, hey, I want to get there. I want to go to 2 and 3 and 4. But it's not only the attendees, it's also the coaches. They're in it too. They're at tier 2 and they want to get to tier 3. And there's a celebration to that in a humble way, which I thought was really cool. And something that I know, Buddy, you and I talked about quite a bit last week.
Yeah, I mean, I first off, I will honestly tell you, it's the first time I've taken a trip anywhere in reality, and it was wonderful. It was in Texas, so I don't even think I saw a mask, which was really nice. I thought that was brilliant, by the way, for all these people that are moving and this thinking like, okay, we're going to be able to get this pulled off no matter what, whatever. But it was just brilliant. But the biggest thing I thought of, and I'm going to tell you, Michael, I've told you, it reminded me, and I'm going to say this should be a really honor because he's the best I've ever seen, Howard Britton's Star Power.
Yeah.
It reminded me of that because I've been to conferences and, I'm in an independent firm now, so I'm agnostic to firms, which is great. I love them all now. And all of a sudden they all talk to me. I'm small, so they're not worried about me recruiting them or anything like that. So I'm in a really good position now to have different conversations. But it's not, after all this COVID, it's not T-shirts and it's jackets. I mean, some people wearing it's professional people again, which I feel like we've gotten away from, not just in the last 10 years, but in the last couple years, because we're dealing with people. I mean, we're making more money on the house sales than some of these people are that own the house, and we should respect that, I think. And but I would think it was that, and there was a tremendous amount of humility. Because I mean, I've sat down with some of these conversations and with some of these people, and you always think you're the biggest guy in the room, but then you talk to somebody and we sell about 700-800 units, and I'm like, what, like $50,000 single wise? And they're like, no, our average price is $650. I mean, but I think it was that, and then the level of, I mean, it was just, I go to, there's other coaching companies, Michael, that I love. I'm just going to tell you, okay, because I'm agnostic. But the level of preparation, and I joked around with you, I have never seen, this is a book that when you paid in the VIP deal, because I had to pay a lot of money to eat with Michael. And and he wouldn't even dance with me, the line dance.
That's why Nicole and Jason
Texas,
were there.
yeah.
But this is an amazing, just the preparation that was put in. And again, it really reminded me a lot of what Star Power did, because I am not a member of Clubwealth. I'm not a coach. I'm not a member, but I was able to go and sponge up every bit of it. And you were a sponsor, Brandon, and you were able to, I mean, you were giving. It's a giving thing, and the level of professionalism. And I didn't hear, for me in my walk, I didn't hear one word of profanity from the stage. And you know, that was just really nice that I could have taken my 10-year-old daughter and listened to it.
Well, yeah, we actually have in the contract for the speakers, so they have to sign a speaker agreement, and it's $100 per curse word if they say a curse word from stage.
Yeah. Put it in the jar.
No, it doesn't go in a jar. What we do is I figure out who their favorite political party is, and I give it to the other guy in their name, and I send them their cell phone number, and I say, please contact me regularly for future donations. No, we make it ugly for them. No, everybody's really, really cool about that. But buddy, I really appreciate you saying that. It's really, really nice of you to say that. And Brandon, I appreciated you being there. And I'd sucked. I know a lot of your display stuff got stuck somewhere in the postal world. I don't know what happened there, but they didn't get your stuff delivered. That was too bad. But
it ended up in northern Minnesota, Michael. So right next to San Antonio. Yeah, no kidding. Thief River Falls, Minnesota. So go figure. Yeah. No idea.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Well, somebody got a free TV out of it anyway.
That's true. That's a good point.
Gosh.
Hey, Michael, I'm curious, as you're hearing those guys talk, I'm hearing words like aspirational, competitive, but also professional, and a lot of humility. Does that resonate from your perspective with what you were experiencing there at the conference, the get together?
Very much so. It's really interesting. My biggest takeaway from the conference was how important it is to not only have the right people on the bus, have the right people in the right spot on the bus, but to get the wrong people off the bus. And I'll tell you, and this goes for any organization, any group, you talk about Howard Britton. Howard was a genius. Howard ran an amazing organization, but it was the people in Star Power that made Star Power what it was. You know what I mean? It was the humility of the people, the willingness to share, the compassion and the love for one another. And I do really believe, Robert, that's found in Clubwealth, and it's been painful to get there. I'll be very transparent. I mean, we've had to let go of a lot of people that we love that just maybe weren't the right fit for one reason or another. And I'll tell you that it's very, very noticeable when there's an absence of that negativity, when there's an absence of that ego, when there's an absence of that self-serving mentality. And all of a sudden, you've got these people that are coming from abundance. I know two of them are on the call right now, right? And they're actually both coaches with us, Coach Jason Lash and Coach Nicole Godet. And these are two people. They're both freaking ballers. I mean, these are not new agents. These are a couple of people that are really doing very, very well in their businesses. And kind of like Buddy said, you'd sit next to them at dinner and they'd just be sharing ideas, but you'd never hear about their production, anything like that. And then all of a sudden you'd ask them the question, well, how many transactions do you close? And they're like, oh, I have 500. What? Like, it's just, but they're just normal people. They're just good people. They're the kind of people you want your kids around. And it takes everybody working hard to make that environment possible.
Well, I'm going to tell you what's really nice about it now. I'm going to jump in now, and maybe it's not like that in your world, but in this last market, in the last 18 months, we've all been blessed with, a very high tide market. But unfortunately, there's an awful lot of people in our business that think they're walking on water. And we're just all blessed because most people quit marketing properties because you hadn't had to. They haven't been prospecting because you've been able to cherry pick every single one. I don't want to call them. I'm just going to, so, I mean, that's where we're at when we're trying to get back to the basics. We're already seeing our market slow here. June
it's nationally. It's everywhere.
But nobody wants to talk about that, but it's happening.
Oh, heck yes. And I'm glad it is. Listen, we got to talk about 2007. All right. Like, and here There's a lot of great agents out there. I'm going to offend somebody right now. I hope it's not you, whoever you are watching, but somebody watching right now is going to get offended at this. There's a lot of freaking lazy, weak agents in the marketplace right now making a ton of freaking money that will not be in this business in 2 years. Mark my words. I'm telling you right now, in 2007, nobody saw it coming. Everybody thought it was going to last forever. In fact, the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors wrote a book on why there's no bubble. Wrote a book on how it's going to last indefinitely. And guess what? It didn't. It came to an end. And when it came to an end in a big freaking way. And let's talk about that. Here's the numbers. From 2007 to 2011, we lost 25% of the agents in the marketplace, but we only lost 20% of the transactions. So all you had to do to not fail is don't freaking quit. And guess what? You'd be all right. Now, I will also tell you that during that same period of time, guess what else happened? The smart agents that were prepared, that put themselves in a strong cash position, they sucked up all the lead sources, which, and as teams were dumping lead sources, I'll take our team, for example. We were buying every lead source we can. As soon as somebody would dump one, we'd buy it. And guess what happened then? All of a sudden, they didn't have leads for their agents. And because they didn't have leads for their agents, guess what their agents did? Their agents left. And as soon as their agents left, we took them. And then guess what happened? When there's no more agents, they can't afford their assistant. So guess what? Who left next? Now we hired all the best assistants. We had our pick of the litter on assistants. All of a sudden, we had this bad freaking team that just couldn't be beat because we just hung in there and we were in a strong cash position rolling into that market. That's where people need to be right now.
And
if you're not in a strong cash position right now, get into one. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you just brought up a really good point. And one of the themes last week was talking about recruiting. And we are moving into now an environment where recruiting, there will be more opportunities for that, for exactly the reasons that you were just saying. As people are saying, wait a minute, I don't know if I can do this on my own. I got to find a team, or I'm getting into the business, but I don't think I can do it that way, or I got to move somewhere else. Lots of opportunities for that for the people that are able to capitalize on that and are funded and have the money available to be able to take advantage of it. I think that's a great point.
So, to your point, all those smart teams that were prepared, they exploded when the market crashed. Exploded. That's when the growth happens. This last 10 years has been the easiest 10 years real estate has ever seen. Right? The smart money is on who's going to grow from here forward. Now watch this. I'm gonna coin a phrase, and I coined it a while back, but I'm gonna ask, buddy. I know you're gonna go out there and use it. As soon as you hear this, you're gonna be like, I'm freaking using that. Just make sure you say it came from me. I'm just kidding. Oh, you're muted, buddy.
You're muted, buddy.
But you look good saying it. So.
I'm the king of R&D, brother. Rip off and duplicate.
All right, so here it is. Here's my prediction. 10 years from now, you should write this down. I'm not even kidding you. This is where I literally think the market's going. 10 years from now, you're going to have just around 100 teams in the country that have between 1 and 500 agents on their team. And those agents are going to control 25% of the market. That's where I think we're going. And I call those super mega teams. so I think that's where we're headed. And don't get me wrong, I think there's going to be all kinds of other teams as well. The days of somebody coming into real estate and being successful as a solo agent are soon going away. It's getting more and more difficult. Go ahead.
What do you think it is that's going to differentiate those super mega teams, Michael, from your average team? What's going to make them successful?
Who's going to hire full-time recruiters first and fastest? And who's going to have the best leadership skills? Who's going to be vigilant and absolutely voracious about making sure that they get the right culture on their team and get the wrong culture off their team? That's what it's going to take. Because if you got the right people, they'll implement the right systems, right? Like, I got this guy right behind me. I don't need to freaking implement the systems. He's implementing the systems. That's his freaking job, and he's better at it than I am. All I got to do is make sure he's here, right? And I'm pretty good at getting him here. If I can get the right hims here, they'll take care of the rest. And Jason just nailed it. I freaking love you, Jason. Jason Lash and I have been working very hard on this. I'll tell you, this is the big trend, and I wouldn't have said this if you hadn't brought it up, Jason, on an at-large webinar. But I will say this: the teams that are smart, the smart money right now is on teams that are hiring agents before they even get their license. you got to have a pre-licensed agent accelerator program. So we're doing literally get paid to get your real estate license now, and it's massive. And if teams aren't doing that, they are missing the boat. And so,
Michael, you're right. We started about a year ago out of necessity.
Yep.
And we've been on and off and doing it. And we called it an agent and training program. We pay you $10 an hour. We pay you for 10 hours a week. You come in 2 hours a day and you do nothing but prospect on the telephone. And you do that for 60 days. And at the end of 60 days, they're either going to make it. I mean, they fill out this little book right here that we created. We hacked off about 50 other coaches. They fill this 90-day dealing out. And if they will do that, they will have a pipeline of people to sell homes to by the end of that 60 days. And if not, they're spitting off leads to our other agents that are ready to go. I mean, and those people, because you control them, they're W-2, you control them, but people don't want to take the risk on paying people.
Well, and you just nailed it. And so that makes it difficult for a lot of the smaller teams. And this is where the bigger teams are going to get bigger and the smaller teams and solo agents are going to struggle a little more. But when you have that cash available, right? When you have that consistent cash flow happening already, and when you've got a war chest of cash, you can afford to do things like this. Now, I'll tell you this, our cycle's a lot shorter. So 60 days, that's a long time in my book. So in my world, I give them, they got 2 weeks. So we start them off with what's called a 2-week paid working interview. And honestly, we know in 48 hours that we know if they're going to be capable or not. And so 50% of the people we hire will not make it past the first 2 weeks. In the next 90 days, another 50% fall out. And the reason so the first 2 weeks, it's because they're not qualified. The next 90 days, it's because they're not the right person. Their heart's wrong, their head's wrong, their wrong culture fit somehow. And so essentially we have about a 25% retention rate beyond 90 days. And beyond that, 3 to 6 year retention rate for 90% of them. 10% of them will be with us for the life of their career.
Wow.
And so, but you got to, that's another piece that I think team leaders got to get comfortable with is you're going to have freaking turnover. And if you don't get comfortable with turnover, dude, go work for somebody else, because you're going to have turnover, and it's not going to be all your fault all the time. Sometimes it'll be your fault. Sometimes it's because it wasn't a good fit. Sometimes it's just their life, right? Their mother, brother, sister, cousin dies. They got to go take care of somebody. They got to move somewhere for somebody else's job. There's a million reasons why you'll have attrition, but you're going to have it. And if you're not recruiting aggressively, you're not even going to be able to keep up with the attrition, let alone grow.
Yeah, no, buddy, you've talked about that agent recruiting, and Michael, I appreciate your insights. It's really interesting as you're going through that, really the risk that you take in saying no to somebody. I mean, you talked about not only with Clubwealth, you said, it's taking you some time to get some people off the bus. They're not great fits. Even within your team, when you're thinking about recruiting and onboarding, somebody might hear us and say, great, I'm all on board. But it sounds like what you're saying is also taking the risk to say, you're going to have to let some people go. They're not going to match. They're not going to fit. What kinds of things, are you looking for in your 48 hours, in your 2 weeks, et cetera? Like what excludes somebody from continuing to work with you?
The first thing you look for in the first 48 hours is, are you going to pick up the freaking phone? Like, if you're not going to pick up the phone, I don't care what position you're in. If you're in any kind of sales whatsoever and you won't pick up the phone, you're not right for us. Period. End of story. Go work at McDonald's. You're not going to work here. The only script they're good for at that point is, would you like fries with that? Sorry, that's callous, and I'm sure I'm offending somebody, but get used to it. If I haven't offended you yet, it's coming. Sorry. So that said, beyond that, obviously they've got to have the skill of picking up the phone and calling, but then they have to have the skill of being coachable. And it is a skill, right? They've got to be willing to follow our scripts. They've got to be willing. And I'm not a huge scripts guy, but in the beginning, we're all about scripts because they don't have a clue what to say. And it's not that hard. Here's a handful of things that you say, just do that. And if they do that, we know that they'll get this result. Once they get good at that, then they can start massaging the scripts to be theirs, right? But that's a skill you develop. It's not something you have when you come in. And then beyond that, it's all about attitude. It's all about, are you the right fit? Do you care about other people? If you ever say to me, that's not my job, you're right. Work somewhere else now, because we don't say that here. If the toilet's clogged, I'll go and clog it. Right. Like, oh my gosh, look who's on the call now. Freaking Lee Garland. Talk about top freaking agents. There's a guy right there that's forgotten more about real estate than any of us will ever freaking know. He's also a Clubwealth coach, by the way. But the point is simply this: if you get the right people and you get rid of the wrong people, they have the opportunity to build the culture. All you have to do now is remove roadblocks and give them what they need to do their thing, and then get the heck out of the way. If you can accomplish that, the right people accomplish amazing things. I had a call this morning with Lee Garland's assistant, Catherine Ross. And buddy, you know Catherine. And you're muted, buddy. You're muted.
Yeah, she used to work for Bob Corcoran years ago.
That's correct. Dude, let me tell you, another woman that has immense knowledge in this industry. When she came on to his team, Lee doesn't need to do a lot of educating with Catherine on what to do. What he needs to do is provide her with everything she needs and get the freak out of the way, and she'll crush it for him. And she has. She's phenomenal. But he's smart enough to know that. The problem, I think, with a lot of team leaders is we think it's always got to be our way. No, it doesn't. In fact, that's the worst thing you could do is think it's always got to be your way, because if you're hiring the right people, they're smarter than you. This kid is smarter than I am about technology. I don't know half what this guy knows about technology. If he tells me, Michael, this is the way it needs to be, that's the way it needs to be, right? And so, anyways, I guess that's getting off topic on your question, but I mean, all of these things are important to building the right team.
And it all comes back to communication and expectations, right? You should never be in a position where you're firing somebody and it comes as a surprise, right? It should come at the end of clearly communicating what they're expected to do and what they're accountable for.
Yeah. But and okay, so let's talk about that, because I think that's another place that a lot of team leaders really fail, is they fail to set proper expectations up front. People don't, the right people, let me say that, the right people, they don't want to disappoint you. They want to exceed your expectation. The problem is that as leaders, oftentimes we're poor communicators and we're not specific. Think about this. You know how we set SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time sensitive? You got to do the same thing with expectations for your team. If your team expectations follow the SMART model, guess what? They'll know what to do and it will be measurable. So now you can put metrics to it so they have control over their future, not you. For example, whether or not somebody's on or off lead rotation should have nothing to do with any staff member. That should be 100% completely automated. What our system does, and that's like what he's been building, literally, our system tracks how many appointments they set the day before, yada, 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 and it determines which lead rotation they should be on, and it automatically does it. So guess what? They're in control. And then when they're in control, they feel more comfortable because they can choose their destiny. And it's nobody else's fault but their own, whether they succeed or fail. So,
Michael, one other thing. So talking about training a little bit. So as a team leader, I focus early on a lot on the logistics of training someone on how to be a real estate agent, how to work leads and talk to them, and the scripting and all the stuff that we've been talking about. What I failed to do, and what I learned the hard way, is I had someone leave, and we talk about that attrition again. Someone left because they hadn't taken care of their finances, and they weren't in a position where they were able to continue working in real estate because they got themselves so far behind on unpaid taxes and some of those kind of things. And I thought what was really fun last week is to listen to you talk about your 70-10-10-10 and how important it is that as leaders in the industry that we're also taking care of that personal financial side of the business, because that's a huge piece of the training. That when you get a $10,000 commission check, that's not an opportunity to say, let's go on a vacation and buy a new paddleboard, right? It's, you got to put some of it away, and you got to be working for what's going to come tomorrow. So I thought that was a really important point to circle back to.
I would challenge everybody watching this to ask yourself, am I afraid of money? And if your answer is no, I want you to think twice, and I want you to check your bank account. Now answer that question. If you don't have 6 to 12 months worth of cash, 6 to 12 months worth of expenses in the bank in cash, so that's business and personal expenses combined. If you don't have 6 to 12 months worth of expenses in the bank, you have a fear of keeping money. And we need to work on that. You need to have that 6 to 12 months. And I'm telling you, it's going to sneak up on you. When you need it, it's going to be when you least expect it. And it's going to, I'll tell you, we see agents get buried by taxes all the time, right? They had a great year, didn't realize, I've got to bring more, I got to save more out for my taxes. And all of a sudden they get hit with a 6-figure tax bill they didn't expect. And it's like, wait a minute, dude, if you were pulling this out every check and sending it somewhere, I get so tired of hearing agents saying, I have an account and I put it in my account. And then at the end of the year, I put it. No, dude, because then you think you have that money. No, it's what it does to you subconsciously that really matters. You need to send that money to the IRS with every check, or send it to your accountant or somewhere where you can't get at it every check, and send more. And this is the other thing. I love that when the agents, they always like to say, oh, but Michael, I'm going to use that money. I'm going to take that money and I'm not going to send it because I can make more money on that money between now and when I got to pay it, blah, 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 blah. Hog freaking wash. For every one that actually does that, I can point to 100 that fail at trying to do that.
Hey, Michael, I'm going to give you another term that comes up with a lot. It used to. I can remember my younger days when I was. It was when I was with Coldwell Banker years ago. Me and Jay were battling it out, and I remember my justification would always be, "Oh, it's just one more house sale. It's just one more house sale. I can go do this. I can buy this lead source. I can buy this. I can do this. Oh, that's just 2 more sales." Well, before long, you got to sell, 50 homes a month to pay your bills.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Well, and here's the thing. I don't have a problem with paying for lead sources. I don't have a problem with having high expenses. I do have a problem with having stupid expenses.
Right.
I'll give you an example. Leasing or even making payments on a car. Are you freaking kidding me? And then, oh, but my tax guy, blah, blah, blah. I don't care what your tax guy says. Stop freaking leasing cars and stop buying cars on payments. If you can't pay cash for it, you shouldn't be driving it. You don't have to drive a white freaking Mercedes to make money in real estate. I had the #1 team in the country, and I was driving a 1998 Toyota 4Runner. I was listing 50 to 75 houses a month, driving that freaking old 4Runner with 250,000 miles on it. Nobody cares what you drive. I don't care what they say. It's not going to impact your income as much as having that stupid expense going out the window will. We got to get smart about our money, you guys. We got to stop thinking that we can just spend ourselves into success, and we got to start changing our habits. And that's really the key. If you want to start thinking about what do I got to do for 2022 to really knock it out of the park, goals suck, habits rule. Start changing your habits and make sure you've dialed in your perfect daily schedule so that every single day, for the first 4 hours I do this, and each of those hours is broken down into subsets of what you're doing. And then the next hour I do this. If you're not dialed in at that level, good luck. Good luck. Like, you've got to do that in the next 2 years or you're going to be struggling.
Now, Michael, it assumes that people don't think the 98 4Runner is a nice car. And I think a lot of people might think it's pretty fun to drive. Now, there's a couple things I want to follow up on. Brandon, hey, listen, Brandon mentioned this earlier, and I don't think it was mentioned. What is the 70-10-10-10? Walk us through that.
So there's a book everybody should read. If there's only one thing you get out of this whole call, this is the one nugget that you guys need to get out of this call. Write this down. The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clausen. Everybody that watches this call needs to read that book. It's an easy read. You can easily read it in a couple hours. It's a super easy book. It's the Bible for money. And 70-10-10-10 is a principle that literally just tells you how to segment your money. So after you shave off money for taxes, so first we pay Caesar what's Caesar's, right? So what we're going to do is every check that comes in, I want to see 33%. I don't care where you're at in your business, 33% after you've paid your agents, right? So if you have a team, you're going to take, you got a $10,000 check that comes in, you're going to pay, $5,000 to your agent. And then you're going to take, of the remaining balance, you're going to take 33% of that and you're going to stick it in an account for taxes. It's probably way more than you need to. Doesn't matter. Stick it aside. Okay. I'd rather have you get a big refund at the end of the year. Then out of the rest of the remainder, after you've paid your expenses for your business, now you get down to your net income. On your net income, what I need you to do is I need you to take 10%. You're going to give it away. Who do you give it away to? I don't care. Give it away to charity. Give it away to some worthy cause. But get in the habit of giving 10% of it away to some place that you get no benefit out of it. It's for the benefit of others only. So give 10% away. Then 10% of it you're going to use to save, right? So now that savings, once you get to your 6 to 12 months in the bank, then you're going to take that 10%, you're going to start using it to invest, right? So you're going to buy investment properties. And by the way, dude, buddy, I don't know how you feel about this. Ben, you probably agree with me on this. I'm so tired of agents telling me that they're investing in Bitcoin or some. Okay? You are not a cryptocurrency expert.
That's a blackjack table. That's a blackjack table. No, I agree. I must admit that I have played with a little of it, but it's the same equation as it's pure gambling.
Listen, I had a mentor years and years ago, decades ago. He owned a steel mill. This guy literally owned a steel mill. pretty successful guy, right? And I asked him one day, I said, do you invest in the stock market? And he looked at me like I was an idiot. And he's like, Michael, why would I invest in somebody else's business when I can invest in my own? I don't get it. So anyway, we're experts in real estate, not the stock market. So invest in real estate, right? We know it's going to go up over time. We know that we get tax advantages from it. We know that we can get cash flow out of it. And by the way, stop investing for appreciation and start investing for cash flow, and stop thinking that you're going to, and yes, Lee, you just nailed it. I hope you guys all read what Lee just wrote. That is exactly correct. But stop expecting your money to do more than it's capable of doing for you, right? Everybody that's out there thinking, I'm going to flip houses, for example, and forgive me if you're an expert house flipper, you're the exception. But the rest of us normal human beings understand this. Flipping houses is active income. Investing in rental properties is passive income. We need more passive income in our lives, less active income, okay? The active income is only there to generate passive income so that we can get enough of that to pay for our expenses so we can be out of the rat race, right? According to Robert Kiyosaki. So that being said, 10% we're going to give it away. 10% we're going to save. 10% we're going to use for debt reduction. When we're debt free, we're going to roll that into the savings, which then as soon as we got our 6 to 12 months rolls up into investing. And the 70%, that's what we get to live on. That's what we get to pay our bills with. That's what pays our mortgage, our food, our travel, and every other expense. And guys, if you just did that, if that's all you did, if you just change your spending to match that, you'll actually be able to retire someday, and you'll be able to retire in comfort someday. So there you go.
That's really helpful, Michael. And then I was curious too about the perfect daily schedule. That quote from Lee was really nice and succinct. Let's throw it back up there if we can.
Please.
Goals help you plan and dream. Habits are the action that change your life. And so from what I just heard you say a few moments ago, goals are fine and good, but don't just do the goal. Think about the quote you said was perfect daily schedule, getting your habits right. And I'm curious, you had a book for us on 70-10-10, maybe 70-10-10-10. You may not have a book, but if you do, I'd love to hear it. Just curious from your own personal experience too, a little bit more about that perfect daily schedule.
I'm watching Buddy grabbing for his national bestseller.
Yeah, cue the book.
Dude, I love you, buddy.
And somebody's going to win this. At the end of this, we're going to give them a website that they can go get it. We got a few things we're going to give away.
Oh, that's freaking funny. I love it. Dude, you're the best. So the perfect daily schedule. So here, and I don't even remember how we started doing this. It's probably 2 decades ago, and I don't remember where it came from. I don't believe we invented it, but I don't know anybody that's been doing it since before we were, but I know it came from somewhere. But long story short, the perfect daily schedule, it's really time segmentation on steroids, right? Mm-hmm. It's developing habits on a daily basis. So watch this. Here's the key to success. It's habitually implementing core habits to perfection. Does that make sense? I mean, it's not doing a bunch of really good stuff today and then I don't do anything for a week. It's every day I'm chipping away at the things that I need to do to be more and more successful. And I make that habitual. I make that a part of my plan. And I no longer get to decide, if somebody comes into my office right now and they say, hey, Michael, do you got a minute? The answer is always no, period. And is it in my schedule? If it's not in my schedule, I don't do it. If you want my time, you have to schedule time with me, and I only block out certain portions of my day that I'm allowed to have those kinds of conversations. And what that does is it means that my day is very focused. You have to treat your business like this, and you have to treat your family like this. So when I'm at work, I'm not talking to my kids on the phone or I don't listen to radio or any of that stuff. When I'm at work, I'm game freaking on. When I'm at home, I'm game on for my family. Here's an example of how strategically ridiculous you have to be about your perfect daily schedule if you want to be a top performer. You guys probably know Viral Workman, right? You guys know Viral? Workman. Great guy. Okay, so he's a super good guy. He's a coach in the industry and stuff. Viral calls me up one day. He didn't believe that I was listing as many homes as I was listing. He just literally didn't believe it. I'm like, great, come out. I'll show you. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, come on out. You can spend a couple days with me. We'll go on appointments. So I set 14 appointments in 2 days. And I went and I told him, I'm going to pick you up at your hotel room tomorrow morning at 7:30 in the morning. You're going to sit in the back seat of my car. You don't get to talk all day. I said, my stuff sits in the front seat. I've got a system. We will not be talking in the car because I have to make phone calls because that's how my schedule reads while I'm in between appointments. So I'm going on 6 to 8 appointments a day. In between those appointments, my schedule dictates that I have to make follow-up calls. And so even though you've flown out here from out of town and you know, I'm trying to help you out. We don't get to talk until 10:30 tonight. At 10:30, when I take you, and by the way, forget about food, bring a protein shake, right? If we're lucky, we might have a stop where you can use a restroom. Maybe, maybe not. When we go into a listing appointment, you don't get to talk because I have a schedule for what I do on my listing appointment. And you don't get to say anything. If the person's looking at you like, please save me from this crazy person, don't say a word. If the house catches on fire, you quietly stand up, walk outside, call 911, and come in and sit down and watch me close them before it ashes. But you don't say a word. And Verl's looking at me like I'm a crazy person. Like, you've got to be kidding me. I can't believe you're doing this to me. And we went 14 for 14. I got every single one of those listings in 2 days. Why? Because I didn't allow a single interruption. I didn't get off my game plan. I was in state the entire day. I was focused on my schedule, and I followed it to an exact T. When I got on the appointments, I followed my checklist to an exact T. I didn't deviate from it. And because of that, it worked. It's not because I'm a good salesperson, because I'm not that good. Buddy's 10 times the salesperson I'll ever be. But I followed a system that works. And so the key to your perfect daily schedule is create a system that works and then stop reinventing the wheel. Just do it. Sorry, I get on a soapbox about this kind of stuff. I'm super passionate about it, if you can tell.
No, I mean, these are, I want to get back to kind of the conversation because, usually you go to these conferences and quite honestly, and you hear it in the bars and you hear it in the sit down areas when people are just kind of chatting and gathering, because I heard that. Like, I was in the tier 4 mastermind and these were the conversations that were had. Okay. So I don't even understand what the tiers mean, just so you know. I don't know. So I just went. But then you start hearing people and they start arguing over, and Ben and Brandon, I don't mean any disrespect because I'm agnostic. I'm a Sierra user, but they're saying which CRM's the best. Man, the best CRM is the one you actually will use. Mm-hmm. I've known agents that have spreadsheets that make $500,000 a year. But the truth of the matter is the things you're talking about, that, those habits. Mm-hmm. But here's the problem, Michael, that I see, me included, in the last 2 years, the very things that got us where we are, we have lost those habits because we haven't been doing them. And there's nobody holding anybody accountable anymore. And so everybody has to be held accountable by somebody.
There's been a lot of success to be had without discipline, right? So when you start losing that discipline and that patience and that chipping away, as you called it, Michael, and continually, iterating and perfecting your daily schedule, there's going to have to be something, an awakening, right? And it might be rude to kind of get folks back to saying, oh, I might have to shift the way I've been operating my business and life.
Or if this is the time of the year, like in our business, you see people changing companies thinking it's going to improve. Okay. Listen, if you got a really good salesperson that's really busting their butt and doing the work, they could go to ABC Real Estate, or they could go to XYZ, and they're going to succeed either way. Now, will there be culture differences? Absolutely. Are there different opportunities? Certainly. But the core facts of doing the work is where the problem. And Robert, you and I do these webinars, and everybody's all over automation. We love automation. I use automation. But automation is not there to replace the conversation. It's only to encourage a real conversation. Michael, do you because I see personally, I'm on this kick now. We are over automating things. And the day that we don't have to pick up the phone to talk to somebody is the day we really are out of business.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I don't think that day is happening anytime soon. Probably not in our lifetimes. Yeah, even though Elon Musk.
I don't think it's happening, but that's the mindset of the agent. They don't want to pick up the phone.
Oh, I agree. But here's the thing. I want you to think about this. Here's something really scary for agents that have been successful traditionally for the last, let's say, decade. The top 50 agents in the country, 2025, you don't even know their names yet.
Yeah.
Never heard of that. And I'll tell you why. Because right now, while the rest of the agents out there are sitting on their haunches and enjoying this bull market, guess what those agents are doing? They're coming into this world and they're saying, hey, look, in fact, I'd say maybe even the top 100 agents. But what they're saying is, I'm competing against this guy that's already doing 500, 1,000 deals a year. I got to go be better than that guy. I got to work harder than that guy. I got to put more effort in. I got to automate more. I got to delegate more. I got to eliminate distractions more. I got to get super, super focused, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And they pay the price, and they're going to hit us like that, and you're not even going to see them coming. And all of a sudden, it's funny because, you know, buddy, we were talking the other day. You're like, you know, man, there's so many people that could benefit from Clubwealth and yada, yada, yada. And by the way, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. As I'm thinking about that, I'm thinking, I hope he's talking about people that are in like tier 2, like where, you know, or tier 3, where they're doing 25 to 75 deals a year.
That's life-changing. That's life-changing going there. Okay. Going from, I don't know the tiers, but I mean, I can tell you right now, the first 6-figure year that I had many years ago was the hardest year I had.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Moving on up the level gets easier once you get your basics.
Yes. But here's the problem right now. You know, it's hard for, like, when somebody comes to us and they're already doing 500, 1,000 transactions a year and they want to coach with us, we take a huge step back and we seriously analyze whether or not we even want them as a client. You guys guess why? And Robert, you talked about it. Actually, I think Brandon, talked about it earlier. It comes down to one word. And buddy, you possess it. And so does Lee. And so
I'm not trainable. I realize that.
No, you are.
I'm completely aware of that. I was told that by more than one coach.
You're very coachable, believe it or not. But I'll tell you, the word is humility. And I'll tell you that it gets really hard. We enter what's called the pride cycle. We're all in the pride cycle at some level, right? We start off, you know, we're humble, and when we're humble, we work hard, and we're gracious to people, and we care about people, and we give, and we bring value, and we start to have success. People are attracted to that, and so we grow and we have more success. And the more we grow and the more we have success, the more we start believing that it's us. And guess what? It's not us. It's what everybody else around us helps us accomplish, right? But all of a sudden we get into that pride portion of the pride cycle, and we start believing our own, you know, we start drinking our own Kool-Aid, so to speak. And as soon as that happens, people aren't as attracted to us because we're not as humble as we once were. And we're not going out there and bringing value to people as much as we once were. And so our success starts to fade. And if we don't catch it soon enough, that momentum shifts and our success fades quickly. And it's really hard to get back on the right side of that pride cycle. And I'm telling you, there are a lot of agents on the wrong side of the pride cycle right now. A lot. And it can shock them how fast these humble people are going to come up and just crush it. Watch this. 6 years ago, no one in real estate had ever heard Barry Jenkins' name. Everybody knows Barry's name today.
Yep.
When I met Barry was doing, I want to say he was about $150,000, $200,000 a year. That guy will close over 800 transactions this year. What's interesting about Barry is he's remained humble. Very few people have managed to do that. Very few. And I think that's going to be a prerequisite for success. If you want to succeed at a high level, you're going to have to find a way to get humble. And here's what happens. And I'm learning this the hard way. And by the way, I'm not speaking from a position of humility. I can get slapped upside the head all the time. I screw stuff up so often it's not even funny. But the reality is we can either choose to be humble or we can get humbled. But the world will find a way to humble us if we don't choose it. So.
Yeah. So I would love to know a little bit about that, Michael. If somebody's like, I feel like I'm starting to get into that place of, you know, being unresourceful. I find myself being prideful in a certain way, and I'm either going to humble myself or be humbled. It's going to happen either way, right? What's a way that you would suggest somebody could humble themselves?
Ask your spouse what you're doing wrong.
Yeah.
It works for me. I'll tell you what. Or ask Lee. Lee tells me what I'm doing wrong all the time. I love it. You know.
So the closest, most trusted people who see you in all your moments. Yeah.
But you
part of that accountability.
Hear what they're saying. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brandon.
I just said it's part of that accountability that we were talking about. You got to be willing to listen and be accountable to someone that you trust.
You got to be willing to take hard stuff on the chin. You got to be able to listen to what they say and really internalize it. And instead of, because our reaction most of the time is to get defensive, right? And, oh, but here's why I did that way, or oh, but this. And man, sometimes you just gotta suck it up and be like, man, you know what? Maybe it really is me. Maybe I really do need to take a look at that, and maybe I really do need to change this, that, and the other. And that's really, really hard. I don't care where you're at in life. It's really, really hard to take a look inside at something someone else has identified that you need to fix. It's not easy. And it may not happen overnight, but I would say this, make sure you're listening to those, like you said, the people that are around you that are closest, that you trust, listen to them, take their advice, and then go write it all down. Take notes while they're talking, take notes, write it down, and then go get on your knees and pray about it. And really humble yourself and find out, is this is this really like, I need to work out. It's like, what do I need to do to fix it?
And I'm going to add to that, you really have to be careful who you're around and you're spending your mind shift with,
Yep.
because I mean, that, you know, I found myself off in a tangent earlier this year that was not a healthy place for me to be. And, you know, and it took my wife knew it before I knew it, but of course she supports whatever I do. So you're right. I just didn't listen to her.
You know, it's funny. You said Tara, you know, Tara, my wife.
Well, I met Tara and it's obvious she's the absolute brains of your operation.
There's no question. You are absolutely right about that. But man, I got to tell you, you know, it's funny. At the risk of sounding weird or whatever, I've always felt like she's more in tune with the spirit than I am. Like I've really always felt like she has a better grasp for what God's plans are for us than I ever have. And I've learned the hard way that if she says we're on the wrong track, we're on the wrong track, and we need to make an adjustment. And, you know, I saw Jason Dillon was on the call, and I'll tell you, when I think about humble people, Jason Dillon is one of the people that come to my mind. And Jason, I'm not going to share your whole story, but if I might, I'm just going to tell you that Jason had an experience here about 6-8 months ago that he was at a crossroads in his life, and he had a choice to make, and it was brought to his attention that he needed to make a change. And rather than argue about it, rather than, you know, pitch a fit and say, here's all the reasons why I don't need to do that. And, you know, and it was uncomfortable. It was a big, major change, and it was very uncomfortable for him. That man said, you know what? I trust and believe in the people that are giving me this advice. What do I need to do? And he went and did that. He went and did likewise. And I'm telling you, man, that guy, it's changed his life. And as a result, it's put him in a position to change a whole bunch of other people's lives. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the part. Like, if you really want to, I know there's people on this call right now that want to change people's lives. And all of you guys are every day changing people's lives. The question is, how are we changing them? Obviously, we want to have a positive and permanent impact on people's lives, right? We want to change it in good ways. But in order to be in a position to do that, they have to be attracted to it. You can't drag them into it. They have to want it from you. Well, the only way they're going to want it from you is if you possess the qualities that they would like to possess. Does that make sense? And but as you make those decisions in your life, as you humble yourself, and as you make decisions in your life to do the hard thing, people naturally have respect for that. Whatever that hard thing is, whether it's a humbling thing, whether it's just working hard, whether it's making that call that you want, that you need to make, but nobody else wants to make, or whatever that hard thing is, the more you do that hard thing, the more people are attracted to you and want to learn from you. And now that puts you in a position to have an impact on their lives. Anyway.
Yeah, it's not what you normally think, but when you're vulnerable and you put yourself out there, people are attracted to it. Even if you think counterintuitively, this is going to repel people, it does the opposite. Mm-hmm. It attracts, right? Yeah. So when you're willing to take that time to be introspective, or really work on something that's difficult, or listen in humility to other people and work on something, that's where the magic happens, even though it's hard and difficult, frequently to do it. I want to switch gears briefly, and I know we're coming up here as we're landing our plane. I'm curious if there was any other topic as you all were together last week that just really stood out, and folks were talking about that you think would be very helpful to provide value for everybody who's listening today. Whether it's Google local service ads or any other topic, something that's like, this really stood out. This was something people were talking about.
Well, GLSA is huge, and I'll tell you, we had a GLSA class taught by Nicole Godet, who is one of our coaches.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Yeah. She was awesome, and when we got back, we're uploading pictures. We're changing our budget to $1 million a day. We're changing. We're signing up for whatever that service is. We're 24/7 answering service, because we started looking at our calls and we're missing. Well, let's just be honest. It's not the overnight. It's even in the daytime.
Yeah, it's all the time. It's all the time. And you're right. She did knock it out of the park, so much so that we had to do her class a second time. And then that one filled up. And so we had to do a third time, and that one filled up. And so now we're doing I think it's in January or February, sometime in that range, we're doing an actual multi-day workshop with her and with Jason Lash, who's also on the call. She's doing Google LSA and he's doing Google pay-per-click. And we're combining the two. And I'm telling you right now, those are two areas. If you want to talk about lead generation for 2022, and you know how it's always cyclical, right? Like one year, you know, Zillow's killing it. One year, Realtor.com's killing it. One year, this is killing it. 2022 is going to be the year of GLSA and pay-per-click. Mark my words. I mean, those are going to be the two hottest lead sources for the next 12 months.
Well, I'm going to go back to pay-per-click because our summer, I mean, we did incredible with it. And I am going to plug Sierra a little bit here too. We've been talking all about Clubwealth because I'm going to tell you, Michael, you know me for a long time, and I've been with about every platform out there, and they're all good if you use them. It doesn't matter but the PPC, that the dollar spent, I mean, I was down to $4 a pop, and they're way higher conversion than paying $2-3 for a Facebook lead or something like that. Now, there's places for that, retargeting. There's all kinds of dynamic retargeting, and that's one of the main reasons, reasons I love Sierra, other than they're really cool dudes, is they are PPC management. They don't charge a management fee. So every dollar you spend goes into it. It ain't $500 a month.
But they do a good job of it. That's
the other thing. They do a really good job of it. Yep. That is huge. And then the organic. Over 50% of my leads come from organic.
Yep. Dude, that's huge. And you start thinking about the cost of client acquisition. Your average cost of client acquisition drops. I mean, if think about this, if 50% of your client acquisition is now organic, your cost of client acquisition just dropped by 50%. That's real dollars in your pocket. That's a big deal. Ben, I'm sorry, you were going to say something.
Well, I was just going to say, buddy, on PPC, the benefit to PPC is you sign up, you get your ads up today on Google, you get leads coming in today. That's true. But I think one thing that people need to also understand about pay-per-click is that over time, you can dial those campaigns in. So you get better cost per lead, you get better quality of lead over time. And that tends to take about 3 to 6 months to really start to hit that sweet spot on getting those leads out.
Yeah, and y'all don't just set it and forget it like a lot of places, by the way, where you know, because here's the deal. I'm no genius, but I could set up a PPC campaign and charge you $500 a month and let it roll. You know what I mean? And then Ben, y'all got a question there about, I don't know where y'all are at.
Jason, the short answer is yes, it plays nice with Waypost.
Yes,
Sierra does a very nice job integrating with Waypost.
We really do.
Yep, they do. And if you don't, and Jason, I know you're already working with the AIM team, and yes, we can set that up for you. We can make that connection for you, and we can set you up on Barry's action plans or Jason's action plans, whatever you want, man. Like, we can make that happen. But yeah, they play really nice together, and it's seamless, and you don't have to worry about anything. So, and yes, that's correct. Jason Lash is also verifying that.
Well, Michael, while we're in this, hey, let me ask you a question. You got 40,000 people in your group, and you got a lot of coaching clients. You're probably, other than Buffini, you're probably the biggest organization out there.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I appreciate that, but I think Tom's bigger than us, Brian's bigger than us, and Maps is bigger than us.
All right. Well, let me ask you this: what are you hearing? And this probably y'all don't want to hear, but actually they do. This is what I like about the group that's on here, because that's the reason I am the biggest pain in the butt they have for a customer. But the thing is,
we love you, buddy.
What pain points or what problems or what are you seeing people want in a CRM system right now? And it changes every day, because as soon as you feel that need, like when you guys launched your app 6 months ago, everybody was all wound up for an app, but then nobody ever. And then I met a lady on a plane going to San Antonio, not going to use her name. She's got a big team. She uses Sierra. She didn't even know you had an app.
I know exactly who you're talking about. She's one of our coaching clients.
No, I mean, but
I love her. She's wonderful. But yes. So are you asking Ben or are you asking me?
I'm asking you and Ben. I mean, obviously, Ben, you can talk into kind of where you guys, your roadmap, what you're seeing as far as, but then I want to hear from you, Michael. What are you hearing? Because you got to be hearing agents complain.
Here's the thing. What they're complaining about is not the features. And let me rephrase. They're always going to say, I want this feature, I want that feature, because they hear on a webinar that such and such a CRM does this, so mine's got to do the same thing. And it's always the new shiny object. And that stuff's all freaking hogwash. Quit worrying about that stuff. The real problem that most agents are having right now is getting it set up and just getting it started. It's a lot of work, because these CRMs, it's not like it was back when Top Producer was on DOS, right? I mean, it's a different world today, right? It's not the same thing. today, there's a lot of work that goes involved. I mean, you can get less robust CRMs that do the job, but if you're really going to scale a team, if you're and scale is different than growth, but if you're going to scale a team and you're going to really grow to a level where you can have an actual business, guess what it's going to take? It's going to take robust software to do that. You're going to need a great CRM that's got lots of integrations, that's got lots of customizability. And guess what? The more you customize stuff, the harder it is to implement. There's a lot to it, but it's important. And the more you go down that road, the more you work hard to get that done. You can get 80% of the value out of a CRM with not a lot of effort, but to get that last 20 takes a lot of work. But that last 20 is all profit. And that's the thing you got to understand is if you'll put the effort into it, that's all profit on that last 20%. So spend the time, effort, energy, and dollars to get to that. That's what I mean. Look, I keep coming back to Barry Jenks. I mean, look at Barry, right? I mean, that guy's got everything in his business just highly automated. He's got great agents that are making the calls, but he's only able to do that because he takes the time and he's willing to spend the money to do it. So that's like that. So I guess what I'm saying is it's not about what feature it has. It's about how fully do you use everything that your CRM has now.
So the deployment and actually get them to use it. And that's the problem with everything. I mean, that's the same thing you have with coaching. Yeah. If somebody's not going to, you can give somebody to, I mean, here's the deal. I've had agents leave me and everybody's always arguing, oh, you're going to have a no compete and all this. I mean, it doesn't matter if they wouldn't call them when they work for me, they ain't going to call them on their own.
Yep. That's right. That's exactly right. It really, that's what it comes down to. If people will implement, it'll work. Look, use Sierra as an example. Sierra's a no freaking brainer, man. It works. Right. And I've got 3 CRMs right now that are on the top of my mind that I think are kind of the top 3 CRMs in real estate today. Sierra's one of them. You don't have to even, if you use half of what Sierra will do, you will have everything you need to be a top 1,000 team in the country. If you just use half of what it will do.
Yeah. And that's top of our roadmap is helping our clients understand what we have and use it to the fullest extent. I mean, that's where we're focusing a lot of our efforts right now is on that training and onboarding for our clients to be able to get their agents to adopt the system and use it effectively, because that's exactly really where that comes from. Yeah.
And a big that's a great point. And I think you'll agree with this is stop changing all the time. Get into the right one and stick with it and quit asking your agents to learn a new CRM every 6 months.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I know we're coming at the top of the hour. I am so grateful and appreciative to each of you. Thank you so much, Michael. It's been a great pleasure talking with you, Michael, and getting to know you. Man, such good value provided. And we're going to be doing this, buddy, and Brandon, Ben, we're going to be doing this continuing forward. We'll be meeting again next week, Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, next week, Matt Wagner's on with us. You know Matt, Michael.
Tell him I said hi.
Yeah. I will. Matt's on with us next week.
That's great. Awesome.
So we're going to be having a lot of fun. And Michael, we'd love to have you on again sometime. So
anytime,
thank you so much.
Happy to do it. I appreciate you guys letting me be on here. It's impressive to be on a panel of these guys, this caliber of people. So thank you very, very much for having me.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Michael. We'll see you all next week.
See you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Okay.